According to the Labour Party leader of Oldham Council, the samosa, and making any reference to the term samosa, is part of a long-running campaign of racially charged harassment against her. It should come as no surprise to any of you that the leader of Oldham Council, AROOJ SHAH, first to cry racism and first to run to the police to try and silence her opposition, has now gone after the only councillor with the courage and the conviction to stand up against her tyranny. She is claiming using the term samosa is racially charged harassment. What are you going to do this time, Shah? Run to the police? Have someone falsely arrested, falsely charged, and then run away from giving testimony again? We see you, AROOJ SHAH, and we do not fear you.
Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them. On the 20th of November 2003, James Ignatius O'Rourke McMahon was elected councillor for the Failsworth East Ward of Oldham. Deeply ambitious, he ruthlessly rose to power, and by 2011 he was already leader of the council. In 2015, exploiting a Labour Party loophole, he became MP for Oldham West and Royton. If only the people of the town knew then what they now know. Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.
A very, very good evening, Sunday the 10th of December 2023. It's the Recusant 9 transmission. My name is Raja Miah. Thank you to very much to all of you who are continuing to support me. A well-linked source in Oldham Council contacted me about 2 weeks ago. Council officer contacted me about 2 weeks ago. Really concerned. And by now we all know the leaks from Oldham Council. You've seen the Willoughby content where it's forever getting leaks. I'd imagine that's from his Labour Party councillors. But, you know, we've been getting leaks and we've had our sources in the council long before any of that. So that's where I'm up to with my contacts in the council. So one of my contacts gets in touch, really concerned, and we have an exchange. And the exchange goes something like this. A well-used tactic by the Labour Party, and it's only possible with the complicity of senior council officers, is to put in vexatious complaints against individuals, councillors, effectively. And when they put these vexatious complaints in against councillors, the council machinery kicks in and they try and harass, intimidate, effectively silence opposition councillors. Most recently, you saw it with Robert Barnes when he stood up and gave an apology, and that was one of the last things we saw of Robert Barnes. He started so well, and they went for him and they destroyed him. And before they destroyed him, and by the way, there are no charges. It's been over a year, and if there were charges, it'd be reported in the newspapers. So they destroyed the lad. And part of it included a whole host of what are known as standards complaints. Prior to Robert Barnes, an ongoing standards complaint, completely fabricated, completely malicious, was against Mark Wilkinson. And of the standards complaint that had merit against Sean Fielding, the council delayed it on purpose. You'll recall at the time. It wasn't at all surprising when I was told this story of Councillor LEWIS QUIGG being attacked and demonised by AROOJ SHAH. Now, AROOJ SHAH has form on this. AROOJ SHAH has a lot of form on this. And her form is she lied and fabricated a case against me, aided by Greater Manchester Police, that went all the way to court in an attempt to harass and intimidate me, and then ran away from testifying, once again claiming racially charged harassment. Well, she's now making those same allegations against Councillor LEWIS QUIGG, and she's making them in reference to the terms samosa and mango chutney. Now, according to AROOJ SHAH, the term samosa has clear racist undertones, and Councillor Quigg referencing samosa, and I'll show you how he referenced it in a little while, is part of a long-running campaign of racially charged harassment and intimidation against her. And as part of her complaint, she's complaining she faces constant attacks because she's a Pakistani woman. AROOJ SHAH has absolutely nothing to say about the blowing up of her car. She also takes offence to Councillor Quigg using the term governed from Glodick. Apparently, that's racist as well, even though she is the council leader who represents Glodick. And Glodick is the main area from where she did her campaigning, unless any of you did see her campaigning in the other white areas of St Mary's in the lead up to her election. I didn't. All I saw was one Glodick picture after another. Not satisfied with samosas being racially charged and harassment and intimidation, not satisfied with claiming an area of the town making reference to it is racist, she even then goes on to claim that making reference to mango chutney is racist. Apparently making reference to mango chutney is racist. And she claims that this is part of a concerted campaign she has endured for a number of years, driven by, you've got it, far-right hatred that has led to online death threats and an arson attack on her car. She's claiming Councillor Quigg is part of a campaign that has led to death threats against her and her car being blown up. Now, AROOJ SHAH, we've all seen your car getting blown up. It wasn't parked where you said he'd parked it, and you'd left it unlocked. And the police, Greater Manchester Police, are neck deep in this scandal because they have yet to charge anyone, and they've yet to comment on the video that was leaked, that they clearly knew about, but leaked into the public domain, that paints a completely different picture of what potentially went on. I'll tell you what didn't go on. There is no evidence anywhere to suggest that this is or was a far-right attack, or that Councillor Quigg is in any way responsible. Let me bring up the posts that are meant to be far-right harassment, targeted harassment, racist, blah, 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 blah. This is post number 1. It is the annual, and this is a plate of food he's eating, I think, at an event with his own Bangladeshi Conservative members. Apparently, this is one of the targeted harassment posts. It is the annual leader speech at full council tonight, our very own State of Disunion. Pull up a chair or even a samosa. Question is, how do you eat yours? Well, I nibble mine. I might munch one. But how do you eat yours? What on earth is racist about that? What on earth is far right about that? What on earth? And of course Paul Bentwhistle is taking this seriously and trying to harass and intimidate poor Councillor Quigg. But this particular Facebook page has the samosa has clear racist undertones. Does that look like a racist samosa to you? I mean, for me, it's a bit too well done. You know, I like my samosas, not that, you know, it looks a bit too well done for me and a bit small. I mean, it's not really my preference in samosa. But how is that a racist samosa? Welcome to Oldham, where AROOJ SHAH, aided by Oldham Council, Paul Entwistle, Harry Caffrell, is desperately attempting to shut down legitimate, elected, democratically elected representation for the people. None of this will surprise any of you that AROOJ SHAH has gone after LEWIS QUIGG the way she has. It should not surprise any of you. But apparently, that is a racist samosa. How do you eat your samosas? All jam, marmalade and mango chutney tomorrow. Social engineering does not work, and the near £500 million they intend to spend is a gamble. With interest rates returning to pre-2008 levels means the higher interest rates. The more you borrow, the more you pay back in interest. Whilst apartments or flats are desirable in a city centre environment, they have proven unpopular and less desirable in smaller towns. People want a house with a garden, not cramped units and soulless squares. Oldham to get never before seen investment with development partners. So this is the Muse nonsense. This is the town centre regeneration that many of us in this town from all backgrounds have mocked. And LEWIS QUIGG plays on the words jam tomorrow. Yeah, jam tomorrow. So, being inclusive, I didn't see this as exclusive, being culturally inclusive, he said all jam, marmalade and mango chutney tomorrow. AROOJ SHAH, the leader of Oldham Council, claims that the term mango chutney is racist. They are apparently thinly veiled attempts at dog whistle racism. No, AROOJ SHAH, and no, you Labour Party people. Oh, what she's done is she's claiming the term mango chutney here is dog whistle racism. No, the term mango chutney here is two things. One is actually inclusive, and he's taking the piss, really, isn't he? He's mocking, isn't he? All jam, marmalade and mango chutney tomorrow. Well, clearly he's been inclusive. Not everyone likes jam or marmalade or mango chutney, but also AROOJ SHAH clearly doesn't know her condiments. Is that a condiment? She clearly doesn't know her condiments very well. Mango chutney can be traced back to the days of the Roman Empire. The mango chutney is not racist. How can mango chutney be racist? Now, what this post is, and you can clearly see it, what this post is raising legitimate concerns about nearly £500 million that the council intends to borrow on your behalf and pay back with your money, with rising interest rates. And they want to build flats that no one's asked for. and they want to build in the town centre where no one has claimed they want to live. And what Councillor Quigg is doing is clearly saying that smaller towns like Oldham, they're not Manchester. This isn't Manchester. Stop trying to make us into something we're not. Our people want to live in a house with a garden, not in some soulless high-rise concrete block. And that's been proven. Look at how some of our estates has been taken down and replaced by housing. Primrose Bank, St Mary's, gone. Huge parts of Shulver, gone. Now, all jam, marmalade and mango chutney tomorrow is not racist. Apparently, this is also racist. AROOJ SHAH is back and you can see it's the 9th of May. AROOJ SHAH is back as leader of Oldham Council, and tonight Oldham is the worse for it. I agree with that. Where is the reference to her race there? There is no reference to her race. It's you as a person, AROOJ SHAH. Your gangster associations, most of this town find deplorable. Your mannerisms, your attitude, your standing on chairs, the way you conduct yourself, we find deplorable. And it's got nothing to do with you being a woman. It's got nothing to do with you being Pakistani. It's got nothing to do with you being a Muslim. It's got to do with you being you. And I agree with Councillor Quigg. AROOJ SHAH is back as leader of Oldham Council, and tonight Oldham is the worse for it. That's not racist. We warned that such an outcome was possible last month, as Labour sneaks back in by 2 seats due to vote splitting, not voting or sitting at home. Labour clung on in Oldham. Well, the vote splitting is why they clung on in Oldham, and the vote splitting was done in Failsworth. Those 2 seats were in Failsworth West, where 2 Labour councillors got in because there was a pissing contest between Councillor Brian Hobin and the independent group of Failsworth councillors candidates. But that second bit is definitely not racist, because he's not even making reference to AROOJ SHAH or any Muslim or any agency. You know, that the criticism there is towards, last time I looked, Brian Hobin was one of those, middle-aged, balding white men. No one would describe Brian Hobin as an ethnic minority, or Mark Wilkinson, or Hindle or Lucia. Perhaps the Oldham Times will run an article on Labour hoodwinking many voters by talking about national issues and not local ones. Well, he's criticising the Oldham Times that run a campaign on behalf of the Labour Party. Where is that racist? Are you happy about being governed from Glodick? Well, she represents Glodick. It's the main area. It's the main area of St Mary's. So how can this be racist? So what she's looking to try and do is have significant disciplinary action taken against Councillor LEWIS QUIGG, basically her main opposition in the council, make him apologise, find him guilty, having Warren Bates will testify how they sidelined him and kept him out of council meetings. Apparently, these posts, this one being her latest one, the July one, all jam, marmalade and mango chutney, has upset her friends. And she reckons Councillor Quigg might have an issue with Glodick. I think many people have an issue with Glodick, in the sense that Glodick has been exploited by the Labour Party. Glodick and all the regeneration money that went into Glodick, very little of it found its way into supporting the people who live there. Many of you proudly tell me about your history in Glodick and you were raised in Glodick. None of us have an issue with the name Glodick. We have an issue with who represents Glodick. Yes, and she did. She laughed about Councillor Graham Sheldon having an issue with Glodick. She joked about it. Our problem with AROOJ SHAH isn't that she's Pakistani. Our problem with AROOJ SHAH isn't that she's a Muslim or that she's a woman. Our problem, or one of our problems with AROOJ SHAH, is that she hangs off the arm of a convicted heroin dealer who was the getaway driver of an Oldham cop killer. Our problem with AROOJ SHAH is that she clearly abuses her position, and this is just one example of that. So according to AROOJ SHAH, LEWIS QUIGG is part of a far-right harassment campaign targeting her because of her ethnicity, her religion and her gender, but in particular her ethnicity, because he dared to post a question of how do you eat your samosa, whilst he took a picture of his samosa and how he was eating his. LEWIS QUIGG is apparently a racist and far-right activist because he made reference, he used the term mango chutney when objecting to the all jam tomorrow promise that Labour have. And LEWIS QUIGG is apparently a racist because he dared ask the question, are you happy about being from Glodick? I'll tell you what the question I will happily put up is, are you happy being governed by AROOJ SHAH? Are you happy having the council leader who represents you as AROOJ SHAH? And let's be clear here. Let's be clear here. Her own Labour Party councillors want nothing to do with her. There was an attempt by the white councillors not to have her elected as leader. They wanted to prevent this craziness, this circus act, this gangster's paradise that follows her entourage, gangster's entourage that follows her around. When she got elected, she put up a picture of her and Irish Shimmy with her convicted money laundering brother as though some sort of mafia family at Mocktails 24. This is outrageous, and the fact, what's worse, is that Oldham Council are entertaining, well, you know why they're entertaining this, because they're in this together. Harry Caffrell has come back on his 3-day-a-week superstar wage chief executive role as a consequence of AROOJ SHAH's support. Of course he's going to support her. Paul Entwistle is neck deep in all of this. Of course he's going to support her. So we elect decent councillors to stand up for us. And the few that do get harassed, maliciously targeted. And remember, this is Councillor Quigg, who was followed home by Pakistanis, by mobsters. Followed home. This is Councillor Quigg, who AROOJ SHAH went into restaurants looking for CCTV footage of him, having attended there. This is what AROOJ SHAH did. She went into restaurants looking for CCTV footage of Councillor LEWIS QUIGG and who he was supposed to have been meeting with, and tried to secure CCTV footage. This is what gangster politics looks like. And now, having failed to shut me down, but dragging me through every court in this land, having me demonised as a racist, she's gone after the only, not the only, one of the few decent councillors we have. He has, Marlene. She's got more bottle than the rest of them put together, and thank you, Tony. She also went in looking for the CCTV footage in the railway in Royton. Just what on earth is going on here? What on earth is going on here? She gives women a bad name, she gives Muslims a bad name, and she gives my Pakistani friends a bad name as well. If you're finding value in this transmission, there's quite a few of you watching now on this free-to-air transmission. If you're finding value, please consider liking, at the very least sharing the content, and if you can, buying me a coffee. I put up a post this morning, and unfortunately I'm I'm running out of time and space. The subscriptions have gone down since we went free to air and everything. The Red Wall and the Rabble, whereas how I draw my income from, has gone down substantially. And the YouTube member only subscriptions, I mean, I don't make any money from this anyway, because all the money goes back towards it will go back towards the Christmas do, which many of you are coming to next week, so I'm looking forward to seeing you all there. But if you can, if you're not subscribed, please do consider subscribing. It's 75 pence a week. £3 a month is the lowest rate. But unfortunately, since I went free to air, my subscriptions have all gone down. Added with the income I've received from the independents doing what they do. It's not looking good for me, I'm afraid, and my ability to continue beyond January. But there you have it. AROOJ SHAH claiming Lewis Quigg is a part of a far-right campaign that has racially harassed her. Let's move on to the next bit. And for those who question how far we've come, the all-out elections in May, third council leader lost a seat and the Labour majority was cut just to 2. Now, those of you who've asked me about AROOJ SHAH using council resources, your resources, for electioneering, I put up a statement earlier on this week, is this Limeside Trees Park scheme. And what they've done with Limeside Trees Park is, this is Oldham Council, I've copied it in its entirety. Our team have been working hard. I'll play it for you from the beginning if I can. Let me see if I can get the sound to work.
Our environmental team was out in Limeside Park, planting new trees as part of our campaign to transform neighbourhoods. Our team have been working hard over the last few weeks, planting trees in different areas across our borough. They were visited by council leader, Councillor AROOJ SHAH, who wanted to see all the great work they have been putting in making Oldham greener. By planting these trees, we are doing our bit for the environment. If you want more information on how our team is transforming our borough, check out the Don't Trash Oldham website.
Okay, you can see that quite clearly. This is an Oldham Council post, Oldham Council page. Jenny Harvey is the woman who's responsible for the comms, senior in that. This is using your money. AROOJ SHAH and the team, the guy on the end, is the Labour Party candidate in Medlock Vale, in Limeside. This is electioneering. This is using public money, your money, to help try and elect a Labour Party candidate. He's not even a councillor. This is a candidate. This is not done. This is not how it's meant to happen. Using public resources to promote Labour Party candidates. I mean, that man has got nothing to do with Limeside Park. I have nothing against him, by the way. I've never met him. He probably doesn't even understand what's going on. But this is what happens when you play fast and loose with our resources. Remember last year? Amanda Chadderton? And I know it's unpopular with many people, but I don't care. It was £1 million bribe to the council, to Oldham Athletic and that grass pitch. Well, here, she is using council resources to promote her candidate in Medlock Vale. It's not on. And someone should complain. If the opposition had anything about them, they'd put in a standards complaint. They'd put in a formal complaint to Oldham Council. So let's talk about how she got back in, Julie. Part of how she got back in was they moved Naila Ibrahim, a councillor, out of Glodick, St Mary's, in case someone thinks Glodick is racist, St Mary's. They moved Naila Ibrahim out to make room for AROOJ SHAH. And then they didn't have a selection process, they just put her in there. And you saw all the campaigning. Is it racist? You know, if the word mango chutney is racist, I would say it's racist to run an election campaign where you don't go out and engage with a cross-section of your ward. I'd say it's racist to just hang out with Pakistanis in your election campaign, wouldn't you? I'd say you were bringing the council into disrepute by celebrating your election victory in the civic centre with your whatever he is, so-called childhood friend who was convicted on the morning of the election. I think that requires a standards complaint. In fact, I will. I'll run a transmission, a training session during the week. Hopefully this internet will work and hold up. I'll run a training session during the week. I'll put it up. And we'll submit standards complaints. They can do it, we can do it. We'll submit standards complaints against AROOJ SHAH for her links to gangsters. I mean, I'd like to, my preference would be to put a standards complaint for the, would that be sexist? If I found her eyebrows offensive, I'm sure she'd twist it to be sexist. You know what I mean. We should put in a standards complaint against Councillor Mushtaq. We should put a standards complaint in against Councillor Ross Birch. We should put a standards complaint in. In fact, there's a whole host of standards complaints we can put in against politicians like Abdul Jabbar for misleading the public in the amount of debt that the council has. There's a whole host of standards complaints we can put in. Don't expect anything to happen from the standards complaints because I put them in before. This is the council investigating the council never goes well when it's, you can imagine how that works. But it's okay. If you're unhappy with the standards complaints and want to appeal or object to something, they have someone independent. Paul Entwistle and his mates have gone and found someone independent who reviews the recommendations of the complaints panel. Do you know who they've gone and found? The independent person on the standards complaint panel. They don't tell you who she is, by the way. They give you a name. I don't need to share her name right now. But they don't tell you who she is or what she is. She's the wife. She's the wife of the Oldham Chronicle editor that died a few years ago. That's the Oldham Chronicle that they had in their pockets that was funding them. That they were funding, and working in partnership with them to help cover the child sexual exploitation in this town. Well, it's the editor's wife who's the so-called independent person on the standards complaints committee panel. It's just rotten. At every layer, it's rotten. So why should anyone be surprised that AROOJ SHAH is now using council resources to electioneer her candidate in Medlock Vale? A very, very good evening to my Labour Party friends. I was at an event this afternoon. There were plenty of samosas there. They weren't very good. They weren't very good at all. I went to an event this afternoon at the Palm Suite. A friend of mine, Marcus, I think I mentioned him in the past. He's all right, Marcus. He tries to do the best he can. He's one of those he tries to operate aside of politics rather than through politics. Him and his mates had paid for this it wasn't even pro-Palestinian, some sort of conference to do with Palestine and what's going on. There was no racist chanting there. I was sat there. No racist chanting. No aggressive jihad this or any of that nonsense. They were sat there and they were talking about praying for peace. Which, fair enough. If that's what you do, that's what you do. Praying for peace. They were talking about campaigning and boycotting, which again is completely legitimate means of political expression. And most importantly, they were talking about fundraising and funding the aid agencies. So I sat there, listened to some speeches, said hello to some old friends. They wanted me photographed with them and a Palestinian flag. I was happy to oblige, just as I'm happy to oblige when I go to and speak on behalf of people at the grooming gang events and be pictured alongside people. So I saw no issue with that. I think some people found it interesting, particularly the Labour Party councillors who all turned up, who nervously wandered around the place and then quickly left. But I had a chat with one of them. In fact, I talked to all of them. Even if they didn't want me to talk to them. Marcus wouldn't let me take part in any of the speeches or anything like that because as he knows, and as the other lads who were there wanting to know why I wasn't speaking or doing anything, I said, lads, I get the praying, and you should pray if you're of that mindset. I get the donating of money to charity. I donate money to charity all the time. Great. But I'm here to fight. I'm here to get angry. I'm here to mobilise. So it's best if I just stick to sitting in the back and nibbling on the samosas. Without the mango chutney. The coffee was alright. They were talking about one or two of them in the end got to a point where it was inevitable. And I didn't have to do anything. So I sat and watched. And in the end, they got to the place I knew they would have to get to the place. Political representation. And how the Labour Party had betrayed them. I sat and smiled. I spoke to the Labour Party candidates at that event. Oh, Rachel, I'm not sure what that is. Oh, it's a super chat. Thank you. I've got a super chat of £1.99. If anyone else wants to give me a super chat, by all means, please do. I don't think the money will come in for next week's Christmas party, but I'm sure I can, I'll anticipate what I'm getting and add to it. I know many of you are coming, and I look forward to seeing as many of you there as possible. It's at the Mill around 6 or 6:30 next Tuesday, I think. Apart from David Gitman, he's not coming. It's his wedding anniversary. Although he did offer to ask his wife. I suggested to him it wouldn't be a good idea. So I'm chatting, and I'll be fair. All the Labour Party councillors from Coldust were there. And thank you, Garrett. All the Labour Party councillors from Coldust were there, and all the Labour Party, the two Muslim councillors from Chadderton Central, Mohan Ali and Nazrul Islam, was there. Also, I spoke to, Ruji doesn't, the female councillor from Coldust doesn't speak to me. She saw me, turned around and ran. The others spoke to me, or I made them speak to me. And I'm chatting to one of them. And I'm mocking him. In plain view of all his mates. And as I'm mocking him, he volunteers this to me. Thank you, Nikki, I got the date wrong. Week on Tuesday, the 19th. Yeah, not this Tuesday, next Tuesday, yeah. And I'm mocking him. And he offers this tidbit of information as a defence. Raja, none of us like him. None of us want anything to do with him. None of us even attended his Christmas event yesterday. And so he shares with me how all the Muslim councillors boycotted Jim McMahon's Christmas event in the town centre on Saturday, and only AROOJ SHAH went. All the others boycotted his Christmas event. Now, this is what happened at his Christmas event. Got a couple of videos. This is the first one I want to play.
Jim, can I ask you a question, please? You didn't vote for a ceasefire.
Right.
The reason was?
Because of the Point Labour's amendment that I encourage people to look at on my website. The call for a number of things. First of all, a humanitarian pause to make sure that humanitarian aid can get to where it's needed to get to.
Yeah, but right now there's a genocide happening in Gaza. and you still don't think it's right to vote for a ceasefire?
Well, I've tried to explain what our position is, and you've interrupted me explaining what the position is. I'd encourage you to go on the website. You can see exactly what my statement is.
I didn't even record. So, and how you treat me says a lot about you. I'm saying that right now.
What did he say to you?
No. Basically, just the same rhetoric, same nonsense on Facebook that he said. And I said to him, I'm not recording. And I didn't want to record.
Jim.
I want to have an honest conversation. And you can walk away.
You can walk away.
You can walk away, but it doesn't change the fact.
Jim, can you speak to us, please? Jim?
And you're happy to
Jim,
stand here, hand out food when people are dying.
Jim, can we talk to you, please? We're only talking. No one's being rude. We just need a few answers. Jim, is it all right if you still talk to us?
Like a
is it all right? I don't know. No, I'm all right. Thank you.
Or donate to the Red
No. I just want to talk to Jim for a few. We don't get a chance to talk to you all the time. You're in town. You can give us 5 minutes.
No, it's not the time to come to a Christmas store.
Christmas. People at 9,000 children have died, and you're celebrating Christmas.
You're very welcome to donate to the
I don't want to donate. Well, okay, donations are fine, but you know, you're.
have a legitimate conversation with you without reporting anything, and I was treated like I was a criminal. How dare you guys actually treat me like that? Yes, you did. You can shake your head all you want. You can shake your head all you want.
Jim, you got blood on your hands. Palestinian blood on your hands, and you represent Oldham. You represent so many Muslim people from this town. Vote you, and then you turn around and you don't even look.
Who have said call for a ceasefire and that they won't be voting for Labour again.
You're very welcome to take part in what we're here for. You're not allowed to hijack.
I've only come outside of
We're not hijacking nothing. We found a chance to speak to you directly, and we had questions to ask you. So no one's hijacked, nothing. And as you represent Oldham, you should answer our questions.
You don't feel like you're interested in hearing what I've got to say though, because the minute I tried to respond, you immediately cut me off and started speaking over.
Holy Jim McMahon, writing to him, sending him results of a petition doesn't get you anywhere. It doesn't get you anywhere.
But we'll see you at the election time, Jim, and we're going to make sure that we spread this message throughout Oldham that you don't deserve any votes. Thank you.
Okay, my thing with this, right? Put aside what your views and opinions are on whether you think the ceasefire is right or wrong, whether you think Israel had the right to retaliate the way it did, whether, you think Hamas had the right to do what it did. Put all of that aside. My position is very clear. I find it horrific. I find all of it horrific. I've shared this with you. He's their elected representative. He was polite. The pair of them were polite. You can clearly see the pair of them were polite. In no way were they rude. These people have been forced to go and find him at his Christmas thing, which, by the way, there's a council-run funded event there at the same time, so they're promoting the Labour Party off the back of your council taxes, by the way, because there's some choir and some council-funded events in Spindles at the same time, where he's there. But they went and found him because he has been consistently refusing to meet with his own constituents. So they went and found him and asked him. And he ran away from them, tried to make himself out to be the victim, and talked to gobbledygook about trying to direct people to the webpage. Then points his finger at people, and to mock all of you, not you per se, but to mock every one of the Pakistani, Bangladeshi, the Muslims have been campaigning for a ceasefire. He's raising money for the Red Cross. Last week, he was hanging out in a sweet shop. And that's not lost on me after his role in the cover-up. So this is what McMahon has been up to. That was Kyle Piffian, by the way. The Labour Party councillor got ousted from Hollingwood. And he does, Denise, he gets paid to listen. And from what I could work out, he had a bodyguard with him. He had a bodyguard with him. Let me find another one.
No, and you should be embarrassed. I'm sorry, you should be embarrassed. And you know what? I tried to have a legitimate conversation with you without recording anything, and I was treated like I was a criminal. How dare you guys actually treat me like that? Yes, you did. You can shake your head all you want. You can shake your head all you want. You try to get your little crowd. You try to bully me into silence. You can stand here. You can hand out food when people are dying. They don't. There's
so many Muslim people from this town vote you, and then you turn around. You don't even.
And even non-Muslims who have said call for a ceasefire and that they won't be voting for Labour again.
So AROOJ Shah's there.
And I've only started recording this now. I should have recorded this 10 minutes ago when all these people surrounded me. No. I have not made my point. I have not made my point. Trust me, I haven't. Trust me, I haven't.
That's the security guard.
Calling Jim McMahon, writing to him, sending him results of a petition doesn't get you anywhere. It doesn't get you anywhere. Labour has let everyone down, and you're complicit in genocide.
We spread this message around all of that. We don't deserve anything.
And we will be making sure next year if you don't get the votes. And I was accused of being privileged and entitled because I said we as a collective are more privileged and entitled than the people in the West Bank and people in Gaza. I was then accused of saying I'm more privileged than Jim McMahon. Absolutely ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. And they can stand here and they can hand out free food and free drinks, knowing very well what's going on in Gaza. Absolutely shameful, absolutely shameful. Every single one of you here. How do you sleep at night?
And one final one.
Right, I know, wasting my breath here, but with right, he's done the respect of speaking to me. Doesn't really like but is saying he doesn't agree with a ceasefire now because he doesn't think that's the way forward. That does actually mean blood on his hands, I guess, every day. Now, they want me to go, so I'm going to go. I was wished, rather sarcastically, a happy Christmas before I went. There's no way that Christmas is going to be happy while this is actually going on in what is supposed to be the place where people who do believe in Christmas and in Bethlehem and in what multitude of religions there is doing me the disrespect to wish me a happy Christmas when things like this are going on. Don't vote Labour.
Don't vote Labour. So my Muslim brethren have finally realised or come to the conclusion that they have been used and exploited in just the way the white working class have been used and exploited, and Labour are only for Labour and McMahon is only for McMahon. AROOJ Shah was there, had nothing to say as you saw, and as you can see, very few of Jim McMahon's Oldham Labour Party politicians turned up to support him. Cal Piffian, who was there, works for him. McMahon walking away from old women, young lads, and the young lad, he was polite. And what he's sharing is, when he dared go up and ask him something, he was encircled by all of them and threatened. You saw the MP pointing his finger like this. I think the man stood next to Shah was the guy, or the other guy who was asking the questions in one of them. I think that's who it was. And the question as to where Debbie Abrahams is, Debbie Abrahams and Jim McMahon are not on the same page on here. Debbie Abrahams thought she was being smart a few weeks ago and didn't go to the event. Didn't go to the vote for the ceasefire because she went to a party with Kevin Sinfield. I'm sure people went to see Kevin Sinfield and not Debbie Abrahams. and then was made to stand outside her office after meeting with the Oldham Mosque Council, of which Jim has not met with. So my Labour Party councillor, I'll do a Warren Bates friend, doesn't mean I like them all, in classic Warren Bates style, my Labour Party councillor friend at this event I was at this afternoon was very keen to tell me they are not with the brother Jamal. They are not with Sister Shah. They want nothing to do with them. And please will I go easy on them.
Right.
This is how Jim McMahon thought the event went. Today we held our annual Christmas stall in Oldham Town Centre. Every year we try to spread some Christmas joy and hand out cake, sweets and hot chocolate. As a bonus this year we had the pleasure of the Brass Monkeys brass band, amongst others playing next to their stall. Oh yeah, as a bonus. This year we held a collection for the British Red Cross, who do so much to support those in hardship and emergencies across the world. Thank you to those who donated. Every penny helps. Look, the only Labour councillor he's got with him, is AROOJ SHAH. He's like a pariah, isn't he? They want nothing to do with him. The white councillors want nothing to do with her. And the Muslim councillors want nothing to do with him. And so this happened. This is Glodick. One night this week. All three Conservative councillors from Hollywood weren't flads. It means a lot. You've got to understand. Massive divisions. Historical gang warfare between the two communities. The Werner Flads, the councillors, Cameron Guffaw, who's front and centre here, with the glasses on, invited to Glodick, the heartland of AROOJ SHAH. This is a declaration of war against the Labour Party. This is the Pakistanis declaring war against the Labour Party. I'm happy to watch on. As should you be. Here, the guy in the back, behind the Zayn, is a man called Omar Sharif. Omar Sharif has recently, as May, the local elections a few months ago, and afterwards, was front and centre supporter of AROOJ SHAH, openly endorsed a ticket, campaigned for her. Here, in the background, behind the guy with the red hat, is the Conservative candidate for Waterhead. I don't think he'll stand as a Conservative, I think he'll stand as an independent. Also in this picture is the independent candidate for St Mary's, who'll be taking on AROOJ SHAH's right-hand man, Akil Salamat, in St Mary's. The Muslims have decided, particularly the Pakistani Muslims, have decided Labour have betrayed them. That Labour do not represent them, and that they are capable of representing themselves. I want mango chutney with mine, and not like, I don't want a samosa like LEWIS QUIGG put a picture up. That was a very bad samosa. Councillor Quigg, that was a very, very bad samosa. Dry, crusty, useless. Lewis, do you think they gave you a crap samosa because you're white? Do you think that's an anti-white racist samosa? Especially reserved for the white folk that turned up to that restaurant. I'd be sending that samosa right back, mate. So these lads have declared war on the Labour Party. Good on them. I wish you well in your endeavours. And if I can be of any assistance whatsoever, because I've maintained from the beginning, first base is to remove Labour Party councillors, and we need to get this council into no overall control. Now, if the Labour Party are going to lose Alexander, if they're going to lose Waterhead, Ross Birch, oh, I'm so going to enjoy, I don't even know, that, you know, is it Naveed something or another, the candidate? up in Waterhead, the Conservative guy who might now be independent, I don't know. I'm so going to enjoy distributing the leaflets up there. The same, St Mary's, her backyard, Waterhead, Alexander. What for? Turning up. What's she going to take him to court for? Turning up to Glodick and having his picture took. Lewis should wear a samosa tie at the next meeting. I think we should hand out samosas at the next council meeting. I think we should hand out samosas at the next council meeting. Are you allowed to go in with a bag of, with a carrier bag of samosas? If I'm free on a Wednesday, I'm thinking of going to the council meeting with a carrier bag full of samosas and some mango chutney. And whilst and strategically sitting in places behind us whilst the meeting's going on, nibble on some samosas. You can't even take in water. They don't want you there, do they, Nikki? They don't want you there. So I think it's time for some standards complaints against AROOJ SHAH. And I think it's time for us. I hope so, Louise. I hope so. I am getting votes. I'm very clear on the campaign. I keep getting these Labour Party lads from the Bangladeshi community contacting me, getting angrier and angrier and angrier. And I just laugh at them. I just mock them. I just laugh at them and I mock them. I'm very clear on my campaign. And they think it's some secret. Last I heard, one of the most recent requests was they wanted a list of all of my white supporters. I'm like, who are you? Why would I give you a list of the people who I think are going to vote for me? They wanted a list because I'm very clear on it. At the last election, there were 13,500 people who voted Conservative. And there was about 6,000 people who voted independent. I think the independent voters, the majority of them, I'll pick up on. I've been working with them, supporting them, standing as an independent. They'll support me. You guys will support me. I know that having done what I have done, is that there are plenty of people in this town who are Conservative voters or voted Conservative because of Brexit, who will also support me. And from the canvassing and campaigning we've done, we're confident we've got 10,000 votes. 10,000. And I mean this with complete respect. In fact, I mean this with pride. Not respect, I mean this with pride. 10,000 white people in this town who are going to vote for me. Remember, they're the ones who called us racist. So I've got 10,000 white people who are going to vote for me. I am of Bangladeshi heritage, and as any of you who've been to any of these Bangladeshi places with me will know, my history and my heritage there goes back 50 years. Friends, family, extended family, they'll vote for me. No need for postal vote fraud, any of that nonsense. We're not interested in that. We can get to 15,000 votes. McMahon's 25 will be down to about 19. 18. He'll have lost white votes as a consequence of his role in the cover-up of the grooming and gang rape. No, across Oldham West, Carry. Across Oldham West. It's not a huge number. There's 9 wards. Get 5,000 Bangladeshi votes. He's down. And you can see the Pakistanis, they don't need to vote for me. Some will, and have contacted me and told me they'll vote for me. But the 7,000 Pakistani votes he relies on, they're not going to go out and vote for him. There's a declaration of war here. They're not going to go and vote for him. They can't even get the Labour Party councillors out to campaign to hand out mince pies for him. They're not going to go and vote for him. Which is why Jim McMahon these last 2 weeks has been in Royton and Chadderton. He's actually gone to a luncheon club in Chadderton South. McMahon's never been seen at a luncheon club. They don't do samosas at the luncheon club. He's at a luncheon club. He's trying to shore up the white vote. He went to an event in Royton. He took Kevin Fitzpatrick, the BBC journalist, with him, wanting to do a piece. And some bloke came out and then gave him so much crap and chased him down the street. He's hated by the white people, rightly, and he's hated by the Muslims, rightly. So we're going to take him out. No, Gary, I think I've crunched the numbers, Gary. I've crunched the numbers from the last general election and the general election previous. And he has 12,000 to 14,000. So he's got 13,000 Muslim votes. He has 13,000 Muslim votes. 3,000 of them will still vote for him. No matter what. There's a Labour Party diehard still vote for him. 4,000 might still vote for him. But he's going to lose 9,000. 9,000. He's down to about 17,000. We're in this. Which is the funny thing. We are in this. One of my valued supporters messaged me earlier. I'm very clear. I'm not hiding what I'm about. You've all seen the leaflets. You've all seen me campaign non-stop. I want a public inquiry into the cover-up of the grooming and gang rape of our town's children. I want to clean up the corruption in this town so that a convicted heroin-dealing getaway driver of a cop killer is no longer able to influence elections and have open access to council resources. And I want to make sure that every community, regardless of which community you belong to, identify with, is treated equitably and fairly. No, they won't give me that. They'll cancel that. The council will cancel that. No, we don't want that. We'll rent a porter cabin in the town centre, Ian. But he's very, very worried. You can see he's very, very worried. Debbie Abrahams has distanced herself from him. The Muslim Labour Party councillors have distanced themselves from him. And the white Labour Party councillors want nothing to do with AROOJ SHAH. Apart from the Ross Birches and the Elaine Taylors of the world, who we will both take out in May next year. There's a full council meeting on Wednesday, isn't there? I urge people to go to this one. It's the one before Christmas. I urge people to go to the council meeting if they can. I'm going to go if I can do. I've got a guest here. I've got a Russian friend of mine, works in a university in Russia, who's doing some a tour of, where is she? She's in London and in Ireland. And now she's spending 4 or 5 days with me, so I'm not sure what her timetable is. Yeah, and I'm at a pantomime with my daughter on Thursday. I've got a bit on this week, but if I'm free, I would like to go to the council meeting, because we're coming to that point where they need to see us. Not just feel us, they need to see us. Which takes me back to the beginning. I'm at a place where I need your help. If you subscribe, great, thank you. If you don't subscribe, please consider subscribing. It's £3 a month on the Ghost page, Red Wall and the Rabble. And even if you can't subscribe, please, we need to share the content, because sharing the content puts us in front of more people. This election will be won on social media, and it will be won on the doorsteps. We need both. And for me to be able to do both, I need your help. Thank you very, very much. Again, my apologies for the problems with the stream earlier, but we got there in the end. But I'm going to sleep tonight laughing at myself at how... Oh, thank you. Sorry, I've got some... I've been told, Raja, you get a super chat, thank people. Thank you, Tony, for the super chat. Thank you very, very much. Tony also regularly buys me coffees, so thank you very, very much, Tony. And thank you, Gary, for the super chat. So thank you to the 3 people who've given me a super chat today. I'll add the whatever I get back from YouTube from the just under £6 towards our Christmas night drinks. Thank you very, very much for bearing with me. Thank you very, very much for joining me. I know it means so much to so many of you who contact me and say, are you on? Are you on? I've had a horrid couple of months with my mother dying, I'll be honest with you, and it's been difficult for me, but every time I come and do the transmissions, I finish with a smile on my face at this moment in time, because my relationship with all of you guys means so much to me. So thank you very, very much, and I will see you soon. But look out for the link, because we're going to put some standards complaints in. Mango chutney.
Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them. On the 20th of November 2003, James Ignatius O'Rourke McMahon was elected councillor for the Failsworth East Ward of Oldham. Deeply ambitious, he ruthlessly rose to power, and by 2011 he was already leader of the council. In 2015, exploiting a Labour Party loophole, he became MP for Oldham West and Royton. If only the people of the town knew then what they now know. Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.